AskReddit. Professors that have been offered sexual favors by students, or students that have offered sexual favors to professors. What happened? My dad was my mom's statistics professor in college, so I guess I happened. Me and my brother constantly give her shit for getting an easy A. She got the D, your dad got some easy A. Short story from someone I used to know. She was struggling in her astronomy class and went into office hours for the professor. She kept making hints and using body language to signal she was down to duck, but apparently the prof just kept slowly moving the picture of his family on his desk further towards her until she left. I guess you can say that she eventually puts on shades. Got the picture? My friend is an adjunct professor of psychology and very gay. He would tell me of at least 3 freshman girls a year who would offer to do anything for a better grade. He would recommend better studying habits. Not a professor, but I used to work at the math tutoring center at my college. I was a student also. I occasionally took on private tutoring jobs to make a little extra cash. Usually it was people from the tutoring center who liked me as a tutor and wanted more one-on-one time at their house or wherever. It's nice to have a tutor on call when you're struggling with homework. Anyways, this girl calls me and I agree to tutor for X amount per hour at her house. We meet up, she's gorgeous, and the tutoring goes well. I become her personal tutor for the next couple weeks and the money is good. But one day as I'm leaving, she makes a move and it leads to sex. It was awesome, and then our tutoring sessions from there on out basically ended in sex, but she stopped paying me. The dynamic had changed, and I felt awkward asking for money, but I was basically getting paid in sex. I ended up getting more tutoring gigs from private clients who wanted to bang me, and after a while it all felt like I was this math tutoring gigolo. But I wasn't getting paid, and I was wasting my time, sad face. I was an adjunct instructor at a small regional college, and a female student had tried multiple times to get on my good side for a better grade. First she brought in donuts, then pizza, and finally one day she stayed late after class and suggestively asked if there were other ways she could improve her grades. Being a socially inept male, it took a little bit for that to sink in, but once I got the idea I kindly asked her to leave. She did, and I thought that was that. Except it wasn't. Turns out she reported me for sexual harassment. Nothing ever came of it however, since she ended up getting into trouble, drugs I think, and dropped out of school. Even still it was a very scary moment for me and factored into my decision to leave teaching and pick a different career. I had a BO stats prof who consistently gave this one attractive blonde high grades despite her average performance on exams. 2 other male classmates caught wind of this and confronted the professor. He denied any wrongdoing and even convened a class-wide meeting to address the accusation. 5 years later, he was arrested and convicted of sexual assault. He apparently groped a female student in his office. When I was 19 I was part of a performing improv troupe and we'd also run workshops for actors and improvising. One summer we did a workshop at a high school. A few of the girls decided I was cute and began a competition to see how far they could go with me. It got more and more uncomfortable and sexual assaulty until finally the girls were trying to take my belt off. It was trouble, and I had to go to their principal and ask for help. Finally those 3 girls were asked to leave. There was then a huge uproar as they told their parents I'd been hitting on them, and when they refused to have sex with me, they were kicked out. Cops were called. Parents came to school. Lawyers were called. The 3 girls were actresses, so they were ducking convincing. They had me doubting myself and my interpretation of the events. It was so convincing. Fortunately there were 30 other kids in that workshop who told the cops and parents the truth. It was a scary situation and I've avoided even the appearance of inappropriateness for the 29 years since then. Also, duck those 3 lying little shits. I hope they got fat. Not a prof, but I dated 2 professors in grad school, stayed with the second one, moved to a new state with her, and had a child together. Joke's on me, she cheated on me with another one of her students, got pregnant and had his baby. Now I'm looking for a new place to live. Life is like a box of rotten ducking chocolate. A professor from my university walked into his office to a completely naked freshman girl standing in there with a 6-pack of beer. I don't think she was looking for a better grade or anything, was just attracted to him. He noped right the duck out of there. Then he came back, took the 6-pack, and left again. Adjunct in engineering here, male, very few female students. Only once, one of them began trying to negotiate a better grade and put out escalating hints that a BJ was on the table. I just smiled, wished her a good day, and kept my boner under the table. I was a teaching assistant for an upper level philosophy class. A student came by for my office hours and asked for help on her paper. I was happy to help, and she sat down and said, "It's so hot." She then undid her blouse completely and just sat there with her breasts out. I wasn't sure what to do, so I just read through her draft with her out loud and made some suggestions. When we were done, she buttoned up and left. I'm still not entirely sure if she was trying to seduce me or if she was just kind of strange. Anyway, I reported it to my supervisor and he reported it to the student's specially assigned mentor within the philosophy department. Apparently it wasn't the first time something like that had happened with this student. I seem to recall that she didn't graduate. Happened when I taught in grad school. After I had collected the final exam for the semester, one of the most quiet students in the class started chatting me up as I locked up the room. We walked to the library from there and just made small talk. She seemed nice enough, but as I got to the library and put my stuff down, I told her that I needed some privacy to finish grading exams. She straight up tells me that she thinks I'm attractive and would like to hang out. She's bold because we're on the quiet floor of the library and it's packed, since it's around finals time. Not wanting to be an ass and a little shocked, I say sure and give her my number. Long story less long, I tell her we can't hang out until after grades were posted. She aced the class, didn't need any help from me to do it. Before we could even make it to a first date, we ended up hooking up in my car a few weeks after the semester was over. Told me that she was attracted to me from the very beginning of the semester and worked up the courage to ask me out after the final. Kudos to her. A friend in high school openly told us all in the cafeteria that his goal for the year was to sleep with Mrs. P. By God, he did it. She was smoking hot 10 out of 10. He went back to her place after prom and she had to resign. They dated for a few years off and on, then married with a couple kids now. I was a teaching assistant at a university. Stunning undergrad kept flirting with me throughout the semester. After spring semester ended and grades posted, she dropped by my office and we ducked for the next few nights until she moved to the West Coast for employment. I was the network admin at a 3,500 student university and had a girl ask me a couple of obviously leading questions about how the grading software worked and if I had access to it. I did, but changes were audited. Then leaning close to whisper in my ear, being careful to drag her breast against my arm as she did so, that she would do anything I wanted if I would give her a B in a class she needed to graduate that spring. I also had an aunt offer me what she thought was the amazingly large sum of $500 if I would fabric a complete degree for the son of some church friend of her. The amazing thing is that 2 professors and 1 academic support staff lost their jobs trying to do the same sorts of stuff for students while I was there. Not a very exciting story, but here's mine. I was a lab instructor at a local college years ago. At the time, I had no control over grades, just attendance, and I could give opinions on students' work and such. No real power. Co-worker buddies and I would go out to a local club and we'd sometimes see some of our students there. One was kinda friendly with my buddies, since they had her as a student before me. I never talked to her, but she'd come around and say hi sometimes. We actually didn't have staff email addresses, so we'd give out our personal ones for students to ask questions and such. The student from the club starts emailing, mostly just asking questions about her project and such. Nothing untoward. Eventually, it starts getting a little flirty. She starts coming over and going out with us occasionally. We ended up hooking up when she had 2 weeks left in my class and like 6 weeks before graduation. We kept it pretty quiet, but people knew. Nobody seemed to care at all, but I think a lot of people just assumed we were together long before we actually were. We're coming up on 18 years together now. Hey, what is up guys, Daniel here. Thanks so much for making it to the end of the video. If you liked it, be sure to leave a like. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to subscribe. More content is coming. Stay tuned.